So which semester are you in?
So I'm the second semester right now. I'm basically completing my
Oh.
second semester and the next year only. So next year, not next month only.
So that is you're still in BBA, BBA, right?
No,
The
BA from like.
So you're in the second year of LLM, BA. So your law did not start till now.
Yeah, kind of. I'm studying law, so.
Chalo, it's good. But I have written your thing in terms of questions that you have asked. Shall I answer them?
Yeah, so can I like start? I'll ask you the question.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so the first question is, what is the most important learning in life?
In life, I think the most important thing is one, being neutral. I think that is primarily very important for a person to be neutral.
Sorry to interrupt you, but can you like hold the mic close to your mouth?
Hold the mic, okay. So okay, there are two things that I primarily learned. One is to be neutral. Okay, don't take sides and don't take positions anytime, anywhere. That's not going to help you in any way. The second thing is being consistent. It is very important because you're going to fail. Imagine you're going to be successful in the first time. It's merely luck. Can you produce it? Can you reproduce it? Can you do it consistently again and again? Is what makes you really good at your art. Okay, that is when people really want to hire you for your legal works. They really want to bank upon you as a lawyer, or else people, most of the legal work is primarily clerical in nature. So anybody can repeat it. So the question is, how quickly can you do it? Two, what are the less number, how less mistakes can you do it? Three is, how good are you at it? So these are primarily very important for a client. So I think these are the most important lessons. One is being neutral. It takes a long time for you to be neutral. We get agitated over anything and everything in this country, right? Be it religion, be it politics, be it gender, be it caste, be it anything else. Let us be neutral for a moment and look at a point. I think we as a country are yet to learn how to look at things from the perspective of being very neutral in your position. So it really helps. So these are the two most important things I would say. I have some more things, but I don't know how much will it help. One last point I have is learn to make wealth. Learn to make wealth. I don't know, people will not tell you. Learn to make wealth, learn to make money. It will not come to you easy. Learn to make wealth, because people do not want to hire a lawyer who is looking poor, who doesn't know how to manage his emotions around money. I do not want to bank him. So the common example that I always have is, if you have 100 crores in your bank account and you commit a crazy crime, whom will you approach? Will you approach a lawyer down the road, or will you directly call Harish Salve? That's the question, right? So the affordability really makes a difference. And imagine the same thing. The moment people are having it, should they call you or should they call somebody else? So your affordability makes a difference, but you should make wealth for it. Learn to make wealth, or else you will not have a better network. Think in terms of, you'll not be able to grace to a level of having better people in your network, right? So that is very important. But people do not like to talk about wealth and money. It's very sad, but people should make money. Lawyers especially, or else there is no respect for your profession. People are like, okay, he wants to do the work for so little, so less, and there is no respect left out for that. So learn to make wealth. It will help you in taking better decisions. Gives you an ability and a power to say no to a lot of things. So learn to make wealth, especially women lawyers. I specifically say learn to make wealth, or else there is no space for you, and youngsters especially.
Okay. So
Yes.
the second question is, what is the change you wish to see in the Indian judiciary?
There are a lot of changes. I think a lot of people are upset with the Indian judiciary. The first thing I think is judge to population ratio has to increase. I think that is very important, judge to population. Third is rapid, really make the digitalization of documents. Implementation of AI ML is very important. It is not necessary that we waste a lot of time, especially in giving decisions which doesn't require such a long time, especially in motor vehicle cases, let us say customs, let us say passport related cases. So many cases are there, especially farmer stuff and bank loans, defaults and bank loans and everything else. I think adaptation of AIML will make it much more easier, faster. We can have a digital judge also. You can give it much faster eventually for those cases which doesn't require a manual intervention that you have to produce them. And a CRPC 164, you will take everything else, then they will be produced, everything else, then judge again 24 hours you have to wait. I think for the most of the cases, we can actually appoint, make it much faster, like how passport officers have become faster. We can actually do that. A lot of time verification of documents itself is taking you a long time. I'll give you one more example of, identifying whether the signatures and documents are fake or not. It takes you a long time. I don't think it should take you more than few hours, right? So that is really there are a lot of things that could be improved. Third thing is I want to change the present collegium system for appointment of judges. This has to change. Collegium system of appointment has to change.
I think that's a
The
controversial one.
It's a controversial one, but it has to change. Eventually, judges appointing themselves have to change. It's a long pending debate. But if you ask me, I think it has to change. Next thing is higher remuneration of judicial officers. One of the reasons why people are becoming corrupt, there are charges of corruption and everything else. I think this primarily has to change. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This primarily has to change so that the burden of a judge. Imagine a lawyer is earning more than a judge, right? A judge, what he earns in a year, an advocate is earning in a month. Right? Come on, this has to change. You just cannot show the power every time. You need to earn more. I would feel increased remuneration of judicial officers. Training of judicial officers is one more thing. One more point I feel is separate law enforcement officials to assist judiciary. There is minimum to none as far as enforcement officials are concerned. It is still a big part of it. You just get interns managing it, or you take some officers and everything else, but it's still not working. So you really need people to assist a judge. And just imagine they write 300 pages of judgment. Okay. It takes time for them. Come on, you can help them in writing it, making it stuff easier for them. I think that is one thing. Next, I would say is mediation and arbitration are compulsory before litigation, so that the burden of litigation can really come down. The arbitration and mediation primarily make it mandatory. Okay, wherever it is possible in the civil cases and everything else. Criminal, we do understand. It is a case against the state, so can do it. I think there should be a separate court for government cases. I feel government is the one who files maximum number of cases and plagues the entire court system, judicial system. So in Droit administrative, we learned it in administrative law that in other countries like German and all, there is a separate court specifically for the government cases. Let common man live his life. Let him have a breather, have a separate one. Let the um, government cases get separated so that government has its own tender issues and a lot of other things. It will become much more faster. Next I have is restrict personal views and comments on the judgment. The judges keep on giving personal comments, and so I think that should really reduce. That gives a flavor and that gives a color to the entire judgment, and that becomes controversial end of the day. That's like wasting the time. Next side I feel is reduce the burden from original site jurisdiction. The OS jurisdiction, the burden should really reduce. That's a big issue. And last I have is heavy penalty on a false rape cases. Molestation and rape cases, there has to be a heavy penalty, primarily because of the false case. The accused has lost his job, his relationship, whatever the society has to give us, whatever is left out. So I think there has to be a heavy penalty, especially in rape, false cases especially. Okay. That is one thing, especially for rape and molestation, we look into it. But in general, there has to be a heavy penalty for false cases. We see it taking up a lot of time. So that is what I have for that.
Okay. So the
Question.
Yeah, so the last question is, what message do you want to convey to the next generation?
Oh, there are a lot of things I want to convey. One is be prepared, as nobody likes to work with a confused lawyer. One time you say something, is like, no, 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 it will happen. Then you say, if this happens, then that will happen. No, 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 this will happen. This happens a lot. Nobody likes to work with a confused lawyer. Don't be a kaleidoscope of confused ideologies, right? So it is very important. Either you don't read your jurisprudence properly, or you don't understand the case law properly, or you are just trying to, because the client is ready to pay you, you start taking sides of the client, and then eventually you realize that you have lost your case. So that is very important. So be prepared, as nobody likes to work with a confused lawyer. Second point I have is, learn to earn from your mind and not from your time. Okay, that is very important. People say, I want to sit and talk with you 2 hours for a case. You need to learn, can you complete that meeting in 20 minutes? Can you really extract what is needed? Or you are like, okay, time is free of cost for me. Oh, you sit for 4 hours. I'm ready to sit and listen with you. You're not doing anything that day, right? A client is engaging you for 10 hours. And why? Why does he need to engage you for 10 hours just to explain his case? Right? So you need to understand that you need to learn to earn from your mind and not from your time, because we have not really understood the value of time till date. Right? So that is very important. And the next I have is, if you cannot read the market and a case file, your literacy is worth nothing. Right? If you cannot read the market, right, what is happening, especially if you're into corporate laws and you manage with investments and everything, you realize that if you cannot read the markets, you're of no use. And if you cannot read a case file, your literacy is literally worth nothing. You will just learn few alphabets, right? Dolphins can do better than you then, right? They can at least reproduce it. So that is the third thing. If you cannot read the market and a case file, your literacy is worth nothing. Fourth I have is your experience. I think this I specifically want to give it to everyone, that your experience is always a relative truth. So there is an absolute truth, there is a relative truth. Compared to what? You're a good student. Compared to whom? Compared to somebody who scored less than you, right? A relative truth. Absolute is highest. They are getting 100 out of 100. You're best compared to even the national law schools. Yeah, even they are better than everybody else. I don't know, Harvey Specter or whoever it is. So it is very necessary that your experience is always a relative truth. You are into a business of law and not into the business of truth and justice. Lawyers forget this. I think this is very important. You are into the business of law. You are not into the business of law, into the business of truth and justice. Leave that to the judiciary. That's not your work, first of all, right? If the law itself is, speculative, the law itself is biased, you cannot do anything. If you want to change it, go to the parliament to change it. There are so many laws which are biased against so many people. I'm not into that. I'm simply into the business of law. It's very clear. Law says yes, it is yes. Law says 18% GST, it is 18% GST. Law says this is applicable, this is applicable. Law says it doesn't, it doesn't. It's as simple as that. So lawyers need to understand this, that we are into the business of law, not into the business of truth and justice. So keep your emotions away, and focus on following law in its true spirit. There is no other thing that you can actually look into. Don't try to become higher than the judges and anything else. If a judge feels that it is not there and the law is very clear, don't try to argue beyond that and say that the law itself is biased. What can you do? I am here to uphold the truth. You do not know what the truth is, right? The truth is very relative in nature. Always it is relative in nature. A husband, I'll give you one example. A husband has beaten the wife. That's it. The case doesn't go before and after. So if I have to stand on truth, how can you beat a woman? Let us take a step back and look into it as to what exactly happened. Maybe the person was suffering from depression. Maybe he was enraged with alcohol. Maybe there was a sudden provocation for something else, right? Or else she was beating him, and as a self-defense, he just pushed her. The truth is always relative in nature. You don't know. So one thing I want to tell all the upcoming generation is, when the event happened, When the crime happened, when the event happened, 3 people were not there. The judge was not there. 2, the lawyer, you yourself were not there. 3, the police was not there. So don't try to be the moral guardian of higher absolute truth. Truth is always relative in nature. Absolute truth and all comes up in spirituality and other things. The truth is always shall be relative. So as long as advocates do not learn to be neutral, it becomes very impossible for them to stand on this. The last thing I have is good research and seat belts basically perform the same function. They will help you. Seat belts help you in avoiding accidents. Seat belts help you in that you do not get thrown away from your seat while taking a sudden turn. So research really helps you. Good research helps you from getting insulted in the court. It really helps you building your career. It helps you in a lot of other ways. So good research and seat belt basically perform the same function. So if seat belt is necessary for good driving, good research is necessary to be good lawyer. So I think this is very important for the next generation, especially, or else it is very difficult, right? I have seen this problems in the with the upcoming generation and judiciary, and also the problem with the new lawyers. They take up all their spirit and everything else that I'm going to fight it and win. Okay, relax. There is a case in front of you. Tomorrow you are going to be on the other side. That advocate is going to be on this side. And once the case is over, both of you have to see each other's face. This client is not your absolute client who is going to pay you money of your next one generation. Case is over, matter is over. So be neutral, but also understand that you're not into the business of truth and justice. Truth is always relative. So this is what I have for that. If you have more questions, I will be happy to answer. This is what I learned all these years.
Yes, so this was the last question only. So thank you for taking out your time. This was a great help to me because this was a part of my interview. Internship, and they like writing a book known as Decoding Law. So they're gonna include your views in that book.